Hey folks, that literary lady here. Today is Thursday, May 9th, and it's time for Literary Tip Thursday. Now, last week we talked about the beginning writing process and getting your words down on paper. And this week I want to briefly talk about making a writing plan and making writing goals, actually. Now, you may hear a lot of authors talk about what their writing process is in order to complete their manuscripts. There is no wrong way to do this. The only wrong way to do this is not getting anything down on paper. So I just have a couple of suggestions for those of you who are writing, and I hope the writing process is going smooth for you. But for those who still have questions, two goals that you can make. One is a word count goal per day. Now, you want to make sure that you're writing, and I'm going to say at least 6 days a week. Normally, we will say 7 days a week, but I realize some of you have jobs, some of you have families, and you're busy doing things other than your writing. But typically, we like 7 days a week. But let's just go ahead and start out realistically and say 6 days a week that you should be writing something. Now, during those 6 days a week, you can do it two ways. One, you can do a word count. Meaning, let's say on your goals, you can say, I'm going to write 10,000 words a day. Now, that's a little far-fetched, and some of us actually can do that. But as a beginner, I wouldn't say set my goals that high. Now, I would set them for a smaller number, and if you happen to reach that goal each day, awesome. But you don't want to set yourself up for failure. So start out with a smaller goal. So let's say, for example, you want to write 1,500 words a day. Well, the reason why I use 1,500 words a day is because the 1,500 words are usually the average size of in a small article or a blog post. So those are fairly easy. So start off, let's say 1,500 words a day for 6 days a week. And again, if you write more than that, that's just a cherry on top. Another thing that people do is they'll pick a amount of time. So for example, they'll say, I'll write for an hour or 2 hours a day. And this is also a good goal. However, be very careful because this one can be very tricky. Because especially if you're writing at home like I do, when you run your business from home like I do, you can tend to get distracted. I have a husband, I have grandchildren, I have business clients that are calling me all the time. So if I say I'm going to write for 2 hours, it is very important that you find a place in your house that is free from children, free from spouses, free from a telephone, free from email, television. If you like to write with the radio, that's fine. But free somewhere that you're not going to be distracted for that full 2 hours to just say that you make that goal 2 hours a day. Make sure there's no distractions like, oh, well, let me go and wash the dishes real quickly. Because before you know it, that time can be eaten up. And before you know it, you've got nothing written for the day. So my preference is the word count per day. And I put over here some links to websites that will help you with your word count. NaNoWriMo, which comes up in November. Actually, I'm very surprised and proud that NaNoWriMo has actually been going all year. They're doing their camp NaNoWriMo and things like that. But at any rate, I put the links here, and they have a counter that you can put on your website or your blog, and as you write your words in, you can put the count in, and it'll show your fans or whoever's viewing your blog or your website how far you are in that day. Or they're just actual average word counters that you can just throw your story in, and it'll tell you how many words you are, how many words you have to go if you have set up a word count limit. Or you can just use Word. Your Word document at the end bottom tells you how many words you've written so far. But there are many tools online. Again, I put some here to show you how you can set up those goals. Again, set up a word count or set up a time frame each day, 6 days a week. If you're going to use the time management goal, for example, 2 hours a day, please, again, make sure there are no distractions wherever you are. Make sure your spouse knows. Make sure your children knows. Do not bother mommy or daddy for 2 hours, because this is what I'm going to be doing. The only reason they should bother you is if the house is burning down, and we sure hope that doesn't happen. But set those two goals. That way, if you come to a point where you're stuck, you don't feel like, okay, I got writer's block. Where do I go from here? You know, okay, I can cool off for the day because I've gotten at least 1,500 words. I can refresh and come back tomorrow and go from there. Now, that's not to say you say 1,500 words a day or 2 hours a day and you stop, and then later on that evening an idea comes to your head that you don't go back to your writing table and start writing again. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying set a limit, the minimum amount that you will write per day for 6 days a week, and that will help you build your manuscript. Again, if you missed it last week, there is a resource on the website, thatliterarylady.com. If you look under resources, under downloads, the character and story outline that I suggested to you last week, that would be a good place to start too. If you are having a hard time getting words on paper, maybe you can outline your characters, your main characters, your brief definition or plot of your manuscript, maybe a ending, a start, depending on how you do it. I start with an ending in some of my manuscripts. Sometimes I start with the beginning, mostly the ending, because I have something to work towards, as opposed to leaving something that's open-ended. But again, that particular download is on thatliterarylady.com. Look under resources and under downloads. There are some more resources there, and I have a lot more resources. They're just not on the website yet. I just have not had time to put them there. But as I go through this session with you guys on how to get your book published in 2013, I will add those resources. And if I didn't say it at the beginning of this video, this is part 2 of getting that book published in 2013. Now, I got an email from someone who asked about, what about ISBN numbers, LCCN numbers, and copyright and all that. We're going to get to that. The main purpose of me starting where I started was for those people who just don't know how to at least get a word on paper. That was the sole purpose of that last video. So next week, I will be talking about how to start applying for your ISBN numbers, your LCCN numbers. But before you do that, you have to decide if you're going to self-publish. In order to do that, you have to create a business entity. And a lot of us do that. And I will talk about that in the next video, because you have to do that before you get the ISBN numbers, because the ISBN numbers are going to be under the name of your publishing company, and it also will correlate with your LCCN number, and other information that you're going to need. So again, for the person who sent me that email, thank you for the email. Good question, and we'll get to that in the next video. So right now we're concentrating on getting your words down on paper. And then we're concentrating on making a writing goal, doing either 2 hours a day, 2 hours or more a day, or doing 1,500 or more words a day to help you speed along your process. And that doesn't mean don't write down your ideas that come to your mind throughout the day. Continue to do that. And if you feel the need to go back into your writing closet and write, by all means do so. I really, really encourage you to do that. Well, this was part 2 of Get That Book Published in 2013. Again, next week we'll talk about establishing a business entity, whether that's a sole proprietor, LLC, or a corporation, ISBN numbers and LCCN numbers and things like that. So I hope you guys are writing, your pen is flowing, or your fingers are tapping on the computer keyboard. And I look forward to talking to you next week. I'm That Literary Lady. And for those of you who are mothers, happy Mother's Day. I hope it's a great day for you. Again, I'm That Literary Lady. I will see you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.